If thousands of people did a Google search for the same term, but everyone decided that they want to click on the second organic listing instead of the first one because it was more relevant, what do you think would happen? Well, Google would take the second listing and move it up to the first spot, and take the first listing and move it down to the second spot. Even if the first one had more backlinks, better on-page SEO, if users all told Google that the second listing was more relevant, it will rank higher. Hey everyone, I'm Neil Patel, and today I'm going to teach you how to beat Google by leveraging user metrics. Now, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and if you're on YouTube, click the alert notification. See, Google wants to rank websites that you love. Their goal isn't to rank a website because it has a million more links than another site. They want to rank a website because you, the user, loves it. Sure, things like backlinks are signals that telling Google that, hey, if one website has more links than another, then it probably is liked more by users. But at the end of the day, nothing beats user signals, because user signals tells Google definitively what they like and what they don't. In SEO, it all comes down to marginal gains. There was this British cycling coach, Dave Brailsford, and he won a lot of titles by just improving little things in his team's bicycling ability. Here's what I mean by that. If everyone's competing for the Tour de France, everyone can't just keep training and eating right and pedaling harder, because that's what everyone does. But what he realizes, if you do little things, it can give you a big edge on your competition. And these little things can add up 1% here, 1% there, 2% there. And when you add it all together, it's just enough to win, right? It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a foot. Winning is winning. And his whole philosophy was, hey, if you got a terrible night's sleep the day before a big race, probably not going to have the energy to win. So he'll look at things like your pillow, your mattress, or are your shoes super comfortable? Because if they're not, you're not going to want to pedal as hard. Or how aerodynamic is your helmet? All these little things add up. And the same goes with Google and SEO. Every little thing adds up. So today I wanted to focus on user metrics, because it's the key to beating Google and winning and ranking at the top. So here's an example of user metrics. Rand Fishkin did an SEO experiment, and he did this years ago and is still very relevant today. He told everyone to Google best grilled steak, and what he wanted them to do is click on the first result and click the back button as quick as possible, and then click on the result from Serious Eats. And everyone started doing that, and literally in roughly 70 minutes, that listing went from number 4 to number 1. Now, the way he told everyone to do this is he put it out on Twitter. So he sent out a tweet, he told them what to do, and within 4 or 70-ish minutes, that listing popped up to the top. That's an example of user metrics. Now, what's cool about this is that site didn't just pop up to the top for best grilled steak. It also ranked higher for the term grilled steak. And that's an example of what you want to do, but without trying to manipulate Google. Now, he did it as an experiment, and you may not have a lot of Twitter followers, and it's not sustainable in the long term. So how do you scale this and naturally get more people to click on your listing, even if you are underneath someone else who has more backlinks than you, better on-page SEO? And it is possible, and I'm going to break down how. So ClickFlow did an experiment with Brian Dean, and then we ourselves also pulled out some data from Ubersuggest to add a bit more than this. Most of the data, though, comes from ClickFlow and Backlinko, which is Brian Dean's website. And what they figured out is, all right, what keywords can you put in your title tag and your meta descriptions to generate more clicks? So here's some things that they noticed. If your title is a question, you typically will get 14.1% higher click-through rate versus if you don't have a question. Example of a question is green tea really beneficial to your health? Question mark, right? That's an example of a question that can cause people to click through more. Another thing that they noticed was if your title tag is roughly between 15 and 40 characters, you tend to get roughly an 8.6% higher click-through rate. Now, I don't recommend using 15 characters in your title tag because that means you just won't be able to put enough keywords in there. But if you use around 40 characters, you can still have your keywords and you can get that increase in click-through rate. There was also 45% increase in click-through rate when the exact query is a URL. For example, if I'm trying to rank for the term hosting, right? And my URL is, or my domain name is neilpatel.com. What they mean by the exact query in the URL, if you have neilpatel.com/hosting, that's a good exact match and you'll get more clicks. Now, if the URL is neilpatel.com/best-hosting-advice-reviews/ and 1, 2, 3, the name hosting is in there with a lot of other words, so I'm not going to get as many clicks. The next one, power words. So words like effortless, amazing, incredible, words like that can increase your click-through rate by roughly 13.9%. And titles that contained emotions versus ones that didn't contain emotions had roughly a 7.3% higher click-through rate. So when you can, leverage emotions within your title. For example, my daughter drank this green tea and what happened next will make you cry. It's like, wait, what happened next? Right? So things like that, or a dog saved my daughter's life. So that's an example of emotion. Now, these titles probably aren't the best titles for conveying emotion because they don't necessarily include a lot of keywords, but I'm making them up on the spot so that way you can get a rough idea of what to do and what not to do. And then you can also get roughly a 5.8% higher click-through rate if you have a meta description versus not. Even when you do a Google search, you're like, yeah, I have meta descriptions. I can see all these sentences underneath my titles. Well, it doesn't mean that you have a meta description. In your source code, you want to make sure you're using a meta description, because if you're not, Google will automatically pull from your website and they may not pull what users want to see. And you can easily get a higher click-through rate if you add a meta description, which could give you enough of an edge to rank higher than your competition. Titles with years generate 4.9% higher click-through rate. So for example, let's say, go back in time. And let's say we're in 1999 and we're at the end of 1999. And I have this article on how to start a website, in 1999. And 1999 is about to end, but people are interested in that because back in 1999, there probably wasn't anywhere near the amount of websites as there are now. If I take that title, being in December 1999, and change it to how to start a website in 2020, even though, or 2000, not 2020, sorry about that. In 2000, people are like, oh, cool, this is updated and relevant for the next year, right? Even though it's just right around the corner. That's an example of adding a date in your title, and that can get you more clicks. Or if you're in the middle of a year, just put the date or the year that you're currently in. Evoking curiosity can increase click-through rate by 5.9%. Example of this is the 7 benefits of green tea. Number 6 will shock you. And you can put number 6 will shock you in parentheses. And people are like, wait, the benefits of green tea? What's number 6? That's going to shock me? I got to click through and read the rest. Titles that resemble education also had a 10.4% more click-through rate. So example of education is, let's say you're selling skincare products that teach you how to, or that remove the dark circles under your eyes. Funny enough, Google actually had a case study on this. And if you change that article to how to remove the dark circles under your eyes, even if you're selling that product, you'll get more clicks. And Olay did this with Google, and they ran a case study with, I think it's on thinkwithgoogle.com. And when they were doing this, what they found is they generated more clicks and they generated more sales because it was educational. They still sold their products in there, but they took the educational route. And last tip I have for you is if you really want to be successful getting the most amount of clicks, what I would recommend doing is you want to go out there and look at all the paid ads that are ranking or at the top for the keywords that you want to rank for. because Google uses something called quality score, and they're looking at things like click-through rate. If you tailor what you're doing based on the ads, it'll ensure that you're going to do what's also going to generate you the most clicks, because that's what the ads do, or else they're going to have to pay an arm and a leg versus paying a lot less, assuming they have a good quality score, because people want to click on their listings. So look at the ad copy. Remember, Google makes money when people click, not when they view, so it can give you quite a bit of ideas. And when you make those changes, you have to be patient. It could take roughly 30 days for Google to index those changes and look to see if you should slowly start moving up in the rankings. Now, if you want my team to just do all this for you, you can check out my ad agency, Neil Patel Digital. Or if you just have any questions, you can leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, like it, share it, tell people about it. I hope this easily helps you increase your rankings, because it has for me. And the best part is your rankings can go up without building any extra links or without doing really any on-page SEO. It's just simple copy hacks.